Welcome to UMC All Access. I'm Angelique Perrin, excited because I'm sitting here with part of the cast of our new film, Halfway. And of course, we know and love this guy from The Blind Side, Quinton Aaron. Thank you so much for joining us. Plus Marcus Henderson, who everybody went crazy over in Get Out, and writer-director Ben Caird, who of course brought us Halfway. Thank you guys so much for joining us to chat today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Quinton, we're starting with you. Tell me what drew you. I know you're already sweating. Byron, tell me about Byron and what drew you to this character.
Well, I would say first and foremost, the thing that drew me to him is the fact that it was a lead role. And I'm like, you know, as an actor, you want roles like that. But then when you read the script and feel what the story is coming from, you're like, okay, I definitely want to be a part of telling the story because it's something that needed to be highlighted. And I kind of, you know, I haven't been in Byron's situation myself, but I know people that have. And to shed light on the type of struggles that young African-American men go through when getting out of prison, and how hard it is to find work, and then how easy it is to fall back in that slump of doing the same thing that you got locked up for. It's just, I don't think people think about that enough. And, you know, the fact that this character kind of, or this movie itself kind of highlights that topic and that issue in today's society, I felt needed to be, it was a story that needed to be told, and I was just honored to be a part of it.
Right. Ben, you're from the UK, right?
I am.
I hear the accent.
I was brought up in the UK. My mum's actually American. But
okay.
I am, for all intents and purposes, pretty British though. Yeah.
But, so my question for you is, what made you want to write a movie about a guy getting out of jail, prison, and then going to work on a farm in rural Wisconsin?
So yeah, I mean, the reason the farm is we actually shot the movie on I said my mum's American, on my mum's family's farm. So my mum's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I've got family all over southern Wisconsin. And as a kid, I would go every year to, you know, in the summer, in the winter, and in a Christmas to my family's farm, this dairy farm. And I always thought it would be a cool, I don't see farms really depicted much in cinema. I find it really, farmers don't find it interesting. I find it really interesting just watching, it's such a different way of life. Like, we're mainly, people now live in big cities, and that kind of life is so different. And I find it really, really interesting. So just like having Quinton's character play that through the movie, to me, was really interesting, just following that around with a camera and seeing how that looks and how that feels. So I always thought it'd be great to shoot a movie on a farm. And when I moved to America about 5 years ago, I was trying to think about how to make my first feature film and how to take advantage of things that I had access to that could be great production value. So I thought, man, it'd be cool to write a film that I could shoot on my family's farm. And when I moved here, I thought, okay, how can I make this film very American in its feel? So I started trying to play with the idea of race. And once you start playing with the idea of race and you're in a conservative rural part of America, you just sort of start throwing ingredients in and seeing how you can make something that is both a compelling story, but also hopefully, you know, highlighting an issue that I feel quite strongly about as well. So that's kind of how it came about.
Well, you did a great job. Yeah.
Thank you.
And this is a fish out of water story, and Byron is struggling with both the physical demands of working on the farm, but then also the pull to go back home and do what's familiar and what he's always done and what all his friends are doing. Can you talk about Byron's internal struggle?
Yeah, for him, nobody really likes to be put in an uncomfortable position, you know, especially from his upbringing. Like, he would have rather stayed, you know, back in the city hanging out with his boy Paulie, you know, and you know, making money and getting back on his feet, but that would have landed him back in jail. And because the only reason he was out of jail in the first place was because of his stepbrother, he kind of owed him that favor. So I think the internal struggle he had is like, because at the same time he's also dealing with the loss of his mom. he's, he's now out of prison. He don't have his mom no more. He's forced to make a decision. Like, look, make a better choice this time. Be that better person. You served your time. Now take responsibility for your actions and go out, serve out this probation. Or, go hang out with your boy Paulie. Y'all get in trouble, go do the thing again, and just hope the cops don't catch you. Right. What are you going to do? What would your mom want you to do? And I think when it all boils down to it, that's kind of the drive that led him down the right path. More so than just the fact that he owed his stepbrother. He didn't want to disappoint his mom. And then engaging in that family and their trauma and their issue because of the fact that they're suffering from a loss as well. It allowed him to see that they really need him. And it kind of forced him to step up. And right. I think that was pretty cool about it.
Let's talk about his boy Paulie, who really saw the value in what you were doing and what you were trying to do and trying to stay out of trouble. Can you talk about the loyalty between you guys and sort of the loyalty and you standing by him and standing up for him?
I think that's one of the first things I noticed in the script about the character that I really enjoyed, and would really have loved to add it to my my plethora of characters. I feel like it's this code, that I feel like most of us know, and it's, I won't call it a street code. It's just like a code of decency and honor that I think everybody feels on every level of everything. And I think that feeling alone is what really defines Paulie and really allows him to be the friend to Byron that he is.
I love that this is shot on your family farm. I had no idea. So that means you grew up here.
No, so
well, that you visited during the summers, which
yeah.
means you probably did a whole bunch of the stuff for real. Mm-hmm. Any of you guys ever work on a farm other than you? No, you never. No.
Nah.
A lot of. I'm from Missouri, and there's a lot of farms. But,
Did you guys? Did you enjoy being around the animals and all that stuff?
Yeah, it was fun. Aside from the smell, the animals were amazing to hang around. Like the baby calves, like how they love to suck on your hand and stuff. That was so cool.
Now, did you really learn to milk? I mean, did you really do that?
Once, but not on camera.
Okay.
Yeah, it was funny because I made a joke about that being the first time in a long time I got to second base with a female. Just
woo! A little too personal.
When you it's like second or third, whatever. It was one of those. But yeah,
God,
most action I got in a long time.
I don't know what you were doing when I wasn't working with him.
Shooting a completely different movie.
I know,
there's laws against that. Okay,
yeah, but you know what? Because it said when they were walking me through the process on how to milk the cow. They said you got to talk to her, you got to rub her backside.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, this is like a date. So, rub the booty, say some nice words to her, and then you go down and you squeeze the. I was like, okay. Yeah. Most action I got in a long time.
Woo! I love it.
I was just praying she ain't kick me. Cause, normally you can walk up and rub a girl's butt and say some things, and you might get beat down and put in the hospital. That ain't happened, so I did something right.
We're talking about the movie Halfway, and in the film, there are serious issues with trust. People not trusting one another and preconceived notions and stereotypes. I remember when you pulled up and you were getting lost on the farm and that first interaction with the rednecks, and I went like this because I'm like, oh God, what are they gonna do? So there's a lot of mistrust, there's a lot of preconceived notions about who you are and who other people are. But the characters, Walt and Eliza, they both accepted your character right off and even became friends. I want to ask you, why do you think that is? And why did you write it that way?
Yeah, I'll say something quickly first, and then you jump in. But in actual fact, one of the things that was really difficult, and I think it helped us try and ground the film in a very real world, is that you know, we did shoot this film in an area that my family live. So you know, the N word isn't being bounced around.
Thank you.
It's definitely racist and it's definitely prejudiced, and but I wanted to make a movie that my family could be proud of as well, and that other people who live in, there are no black people in these towns. Like, you guys probably didn't see any other black folks around when we were shooting and stuff, right? Maybe the student towns further away, Madison and stuff. But so I wanted to create a world where people could. This movie's been watched a lot in that part of the world where we shot it, and people who maybe even possibly the odd person who's a little bit like that will watch our movie and be like, it is like that, and they can own or their friend, they'll be like, so and so is really like that. But it's not I haven't made a movie that's accusing anyone of anything. It's really just kind of a slice of life, and I that was really important, was to make a movie that was accurate in its prejudice, but not trying to sort of glorify and score points about racism and have every character calling him and this, that, like, and that's too easy. And in actual fact, the racism, some places in America are like that. The racism that most black folks feel in America is not that. It's much more cruel than that. That at least you can identify and be like, okay, I'm staying away from you. Right. But the prejudice of like that we see him feel, I'm sure that happens to folks in LA, that happens to folks in New York. You know, right. That's like the unspoken. Okay, I know I'm getting a rough time here because I'm black. That's much more the way that it's kind of like dealt with. So yeah. Yeah,
it can also be perceived as an outsider aspect as well, because I feel like if you go back and you look at how his interaction with the kid, Brian, I think, the one that came up and said we don't like people going on our lands and stuff. Now when Byron speaks to Eliza later on, Eliza says, yeah, he was always pissed because he wanted to work on the farm and this, that, and the other. So I feel like he was salty towards me because I'm doing something he's always wanted to do, right? You know, and I'm living the life that he wanted to live. Just like when he got upset when I was in his mom's shop, and he asked me how am I liking farming, and I'm like, great, and he's like, oh, this ain't no joke, this is what we do here, man. I'm like, he's kind of pissed at me because I'm living the life he wants to live. So right. I think more so than it being from a racial perspective, it was more jealousy, and you know, I think that's what kind of fueled his dislike towards me. With his mom, she looks like someone who never seen a black person before. Right. So when I first walked in the shop, she turned around like, she was like, she had a deer in the headlights look, and
she's just watching you.
You know, it just, I mean, and she's like, is that a gazelle? Like, that's a lion outside my shop. It was almost like she was taken aback because it was like, oh my God, I never knew they was this far out here. What is he doing here? And right. You know, so it could, you know, we can take things one way or another, but it's all how you see it. You know, if you put yourself in other people's shoes sometimes, which is what I like to do, you start to see or get their perspective on how they perceive you. Sure. And that's kind of what I did with the characters in this movie. And Walt, who's one of my favorites, like you know, he makes the jelly bean comments, and then he calls me colored and all of this, and I don't even think he's racist. I just think that that's what he's used to from back when he was in the world and how he heard people talk. Because if you think about it, if he was racist, his first initial reaction towards me with a gun in his hand would have been to shoot at me. Get from around here. Like, you know, it wasn't, he saw blood and he was like, well, come on, let's get you fixed up. You know, so he, you know, again, it's just being in unfamiliar, you know, in an unfamiliar territory. And I feel like people's actions tend to speak louder than their words in that sense. And a lot of them, their actions were a little more aggressive than some of the others, but I don't think it was from a racial perspective. I think it was just from the circumstances.
Sure.
And, you know.
Let's talk a little bit about the circumstances that brought you there, which is being a felon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys, but I certainly have people in my family that have to check that box on the application.
Yeah.
What, I don't want to say what do you think, but when you think about the number of African Americans in this country that have to check that box, and after having made this film and done your research and stuff, what are your feelings about that? About all those people out there having to go boop, and knowing what that means?
I feel like it's that moment where you really have to come to terms with what you did. It's that step up moment, because it's like, all right, I made the mistake, I did my time, and now I'm trying to get my life together, but I know I have to be honest about what I did. So checking that box is that moment of honesty, you know, that sometimes we don't want to face, you know, when you've done something bad. You know.
I think checking the box is not the problem. The problem is the jobs that choose not to hire you because you have to check the box. Yeah. Some people are under circumstances that they just can't, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. So therefore, you got to check that box. You're right. But when someone is not willing to give you a chance in the first place because you have to check that box is where the offense is. That I just think that the box is not the problem.
You take it back a position before that is what are the reasons that people are first being incarcerated?
Yeah.
Which are you know, just definitely skewed massively towards incarcerating and finding some issue with the way that particularly African American, but people of color in America find themselves for them. I mean, you know, the most ludicrous things.
Pipelining, you know.
People I grew up with don't get pulled over and get in a confrontation because they have a tail light out.
Yeah,
that's just the reality. So like, yeah, you do that enough to people, and eventually they get angry, and something, maybe they get a little misdemeanor here and there, and then that causes them to tick the box. Is that fair? That's not fair. That's just the way the system is over here. That's why one of the reasons I made this movie. I mean, it's just not fair.
Well, talking about the statistics, I have some from the NAACP.
Mm-hmm.
African Americans constitute nearly 1 million of 2.3 million of the incarcerated population,
mm-hmm.
and have nearly 6 times the incarceration rate of whites.
Mm-hmm.
Within 3 years, 2/3 of released prisoners are rearrested. Within 5, 3/4 are rearrested. In working on this film, what did you discover in terms of programs and solutions to stop this horrific pattern?
There are no solutions. Actually, one thing that's amazing. I obviously read a lot around this to start with. One of the authorities on this, Michelle Alexander. She wrote this amazing book called The New Jim Crow. Michelle Alexander's been speaking a lot. I can't even remember what specifically she's been now in the. It's probably because of the heinous presidential stuff that's been going on that she's been a bit more of a presence now. But there are like the incarceration and the way that it starts from the very beginning. So the policing is after something, and they're always justifying budget, so they need to work out a reason to be in prison, finding fault with people. Prison system is private, so people are making money off of it. If people are making money off of it, it's never going to be fair. The easiest thing to do, I actually don't necessarily think anymore. I think it was. I don't think anymore necessarily that the system is, in 2017, particularly against black people. I think it's against anyone that you can lock up. And many black people are in some of the poorest parts of the country. White people are now starting to put their ears up a bit about it, because if you take it back through drugs, it was marijuana, and then it was crack cocaine, and then it was methamphetamines, and methamphetamines affecting a lot of white people. So now a lot of poor white people are getting locked up for like crimes that they should be being treated for medically, and addiction problems, instead of being incarcerated. So I think now people are kind of getting a little bit more antsy about it, because more and more people are affected by it in a very first-hand sense, rather than just the people, the powers that be, and there not really being much black representation at the highest level. Some states there have been since the 60s, and since they've had, but not really. It's taken a long time. That means that it takes a long time for it to change, for people to change. In my research, one of the saddest things is there isn't a hell of a lot going on about it. Yeah, you've got things like the NAACP and stuff are always trying to raise awareness, but is it? I mean, look at the statistics you just read. They're terrible. It's not getting any better. It's getting worse. So, and individual states, okay, yes, they might be doing a little bit better here and there. We shot the movie in Wisconsin. It's got one of the very worst. You wouldn't even think that. You hardly think there were any black people in Wisconsin in prison. Like, it's so bad. So yeah, I in actual fact, I think it's certainly not good enough for the wealthiest country in the world.
It's UMC All Access, and I'm here with the cast of Halfway, which is now available on UMC. This is your family farm. Can you talk a little bit about Beth and the trials and tribulation facing the generation of farmers today? Yeah,
absolutely. So we shot the movie on my family's farm. It was 1893 was when which is the date in the film as well, is when they found the farm, where they homesteaded the land. And yeah, I mean, it's farming is a hard lifestyle. It's, you know, yes. My cousins are the ones who showed Quinton how to farm, and Amy Peets, who plays Beth, has showed her how to farm. You know, they're up at the crack of, I mean, pre-dawn.
4:30.
Yeah, to milk and stuff, and yeah, to milk and feed, and then chores through the day, and then right up to evening. It's a bit different now with some of the more mechanized ways that you can actually milk. But it is a hard lifestyle. So, you know, increasingly smaller farms sell out to bigger farms. And it's hard to hold on to it's hard, you know, the fluctuation of the milk price massively affects small farms like my family's farm. And it's a sort of lifestyle that in 2017 people are leaving. They don't necessarily want to follow in their parents' footsteps and do that same sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, my family are happy doing it, but it's tough. And some of the smaller farms like theirs, in actual fact, in Wisconsin, one of the things that has been happening a lot is a lot of Amish have been moving from east, because the land's worth a lot. Wisconsin's actually quite expensive as well, but they've been moving east because you can get a bit more in Wisconsin than you can in Pennsylvania and stuff, and New York. But Amish are people who want to live at a very sort of simple lifestyle. So they're happy to come in and do that kind of thing. But it's 2017, you know, not a lot of people want to work like that, work 15-hour days. And yeah.
One of the themes of the movie is second chances. Byron's getting a second chance, Beth, Eliza, but it also involves forgiveness and allowing people to change. I mean, we all have those family members who did something wrong, and we have to forgive them, and oh, I've changed. For you guys personally, whoever wants to answer, how hard is it to give that second chance?
It's not hard to give a second chance, I don't think. I mean, I can see how it is, but, you know, I think the more we try to understand that, you know, second chances are just the next day in life. Like, you know, you wake up in the morning, you got a second chance. Like, nothing stops you in a sense. I mean, in the sense of like we were talking about the box and the way the system is set up, then yeah, but, you know, we can't think in terms of the structure of the system. We must think in terms of the structure of our natural design, you know, and I think once you do that, like, second chances are just the next day.
Now, Paulie wants to do right by Byron,
He does.
right? Do you feel like he gave the ultimate sacrifice for his friend?
Yeah, I think so. I think being able to see, you know, I'm quick to just jump right back into the life, no problem. But actually seeing someone who's taking the steps to do right, to want to do better, I think I think that's a noble thing, and I think it allows you to like clear your conscience for a second and say, I did something good. I did nothing else. I did something right.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Marcus's character, Paulie, in the film is really, he's the manifestation of what we were just talking about. He's the guy who he wakes up in the morning, he gets himself out of his trouble, and he's speaking to his friend who he's got faith in, who he's got pride in himself and his friend, and he's saying, no, you should do right, you should take this opportunity. Not many people have this opportunity, you know, people like us are picking up roadside trash. Like, no, you should take this opportunity. But bit by bit, through the timeline of the film, we revisit, we check in with Paulie again, and we check in with Paulie again, and he's been fired for nothing from his job, and bit by bit we see this great guy. We know he's a great guy. We know he's got love for his friend. He's the one in the end who, as you say, he makes the ultimate sacrifice for his friend. But we just watched how hard it was for him, and we heard how good a guy he was in the beginning, and how he was trying to press for his all but brother, you know, and they were in it together. But how hard do you want to make it for him?
Right.
Like so he's the manifestation of it. Byron is the exception, but Byron's the 1/3 of the 2/3, or the 1/4 of the 3/4, and the 3/4 is Paulie.
Well, because it comes down to support system, and Paulie at the end of the day was Byron's support. Mm-hmm. You know, Paulie, when Byron wanted to go back into his old life and get out of there and just say F the farm, it was Paulie that told him, nah, bruh, you ain't going nowhere. Like, look at how you got it right now. You need to open your eyes and see that this situation that you're in right now is the best thing that can happen to a fella. You know, and stop crying about having to clean up or step in crap and just step in that crap and take it, own it. You know, it's like, that was what Byron needed, and not a lot of people have that. Not a lot of people have that support, and that was so Byron Paulie, throughout the film has been making the ultimate sacrifice, you know, because from his perspective, he would give anything to have his best friend back and them doing what they were doing to make money and get back on their feet. But it's like, that's the easy way out. But that easy way out may sometimes land you back in a situation you don't want to be in.
Sure. So
it was Paulie to be the voice of reason, to tell Byron, like, look, we can't go that route. You can't do that. You can't do that. But then even, you know, like, we all get our moments of weakness. And when he got his moment of weakness and he came to me with an opportunity for us to do better in our past lives, but, like, with new papers and a different territory and everything, then it was my turn to return the favor. Mm-hmm. And be like, nah, bro, we can't do that.
Right.
Like, you was the one that talked me out of it the first time, and you was right. You know, and at the end of the day, I'm invested in what I'm doing right now. This family needs me.
You had a family as well.
Yeah,
through the film, you develop a family around you as well.
Yeah, and Paulie was my family. Like, I'm Paulie's family. Like, Paulie didn't have anybody but me, and so that's why he was like, dude, I'm not doing this without you.
Right.
Like, I don't want to go over there if you're not coming with me. You my peoples, and that's why he did what he did with the drugs, because it was like, look, we need to get this off the farm. I know you're caring for those people, and having that stuff there on that farm is just going to bring danger to them. You know, you trying to move it off the farm is just going to land you back in jail. And, you know, he felt like he had the better chance of, you know, resolving the situation, but he also at the same time knew the risk.
Right.
He knew that with him taking it, one of two things can happen. Either the cops going to pick him up with it, or the people that he was going to that didn't know he was coming we're gonna find him and think he was trying to steal it and run and
Give it away.
you know. I mean, it's just when you think about it, it's just like you think that you look at all scenarios, so you think that they either gonna come for me or I'm gonna get busted or so. But at the end of the day, second chances, sacrifices, hard decisions, it's all a part of life.
That is true.
You tend to cope with the characters and gain that sense of concernment for their well-being because of the challenges they're facing, and that's what we want to do. We want to open people's eyes to the struggles that they go through and show them, look, at the end of the day, they're still people.
Right.
They made bad decisions that landed them in prison, but that doesn't mean that they're not still people. That doesn't mean that they're animals just because of having to check that box.
Right.
They're human beings. They just want to make up for their mistakes, and we're all we all should be given second chances at the end of the day. So
that's the beauty of both of your performances in the film, is that you're both so. Byron starts almost as an anti-hero, but you love him. Look at his face, like you just and the same with Paulie is like he's just the most likable character through all the stuff that and that's the beauty of the performances and the actors, it's that these are try and be as real as possible, try and create some real people as much as possible. People are like these guys out there,
We're talking about the movie Halfway on UMC right now, and so I want to switch gears just slightly. Mr. Marcus, get out.
Get out.
Get out.
Get out.
Okay, I just want to say, what are your thoughts about this being such a huge hit and the response from the viewers, the people, fans?
Working in Hollywood and doing movies and stuff, I think a lot of people don't realize that you shoot that like a year or so ago, and it's a lot of stuff that happens in between that year of shooting it and it being released, and you don't really think about it as much. And then luckily I was doing a play at the time, so like a lot of it just kind of got blocked off because I was working. But when I sit down in those quiet moments and really think about it, it's like you are going to be a part of people's favorite movies for the rest of time, and that's a cool feeling, It's a really cool feeling, and I knew it was going to be a great movie. I just never expected this response from it.
Sure.
And then the other things that became attached to it, the memes and the
let's talk about the Get Out challenge.
And,
will you explain what it is, and the first time you saw it and was like, really?
So the Get Out challenge is when you come running towards the camera and you make a hard right. I don't want to give away if people haven't seen the movie yet, but I do this move in the movie, and people have been replicating it. Like, the first time I saw it, someone tagged me on Instagram, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It was funny. And I like reposted it, and then it just kind of like started like going off. Like everybody started doing it, I was just like, man, this is crazy. Like, why this part? I love parts in the movie. It's like so many parts to do a challenge from, and like this part. But I mean, it's a testament to the work that you do, the work that you put in, beforehand, and it allows everything and everybody around me to elevate also. I think, into whatever that is, so yeah, it's a really good feeling.
All right. And Quinton, I know that I looked at your IMDb page and I see you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. What exciting new projects do you have coming up?
It's a couple. It's a couple things. Actually, a horror film just released that well, I don't think it released yet, but I just finished a horror film of my own a couple months back called Hybristophilia that is gonna be coming out soon. It's a different look for me.
Okay.
I don't want to give the movie away.
All right.
Different look. You're playing a small white man.
No, I got a small white girlfriend. It was pretty cool. And she's like the boss of me, you know. She runs it. She's actually played by one of my best friends, Jenna Willis.
Okay.
So it's a pretty cool film. You know, you get to do those films with your friends and work with it. It's just it becomes fun more so than it already is, and that was a cool one that we did. I have a movie out right now on demand called "It's Not My Fault and I Don't Care Anyway," and that's stars Alan Thicke, myself, and a bunch of other Canadian actors. We actually did that up in Canada. It's I just saw it on demand. I was telling them earlier. I'm scrolling through the channel. I didn't even know this movie was out yet. And so yeah, that's out. Writing and getting ready for some new stuff. Training, getting back in shape, and I got some action and drama in my future. So,
all right.
And hopefully some more comedy.
Can you talk a little bit about your foundation to stop bullying?
Yes. I started my foundation back in 2012. Just named it after myself because it was funny at the time. My motivation of naming it the Quinton Aaron Foundation was because everybody was calling me Michael, and Michael Orr, and Big Mike, and Blindside Guy, and I was like, okay, that's cool, but my name's Quinton. Just just say Q. Just But it was, so I said I originally wanted to focus on areas of bullying and childhood obesity because those are things I faced as a kid. And they kind of go one and the same. A lot of times you get picked on because of your physical outer appearance. And as unfortunate as it is, it's kind of escalated today because of social media. It became viral and cyberbullying. And has led to, a high suicide toll in our young people. Kids just killing themselves. And I always say it's not cool because they're making this permanent decision based off of a temporary emotion. Yeah. Not enough people are telling these kids today, like, listen, high school is not the rest of your life. When you graduate, you never have to see these kids again. Ever. And I don't think that's stressed enough because these kids are killing themselves because of what's happening to them at that moment. It's like as if they don't know life goes on. Or you can just move, or and there's not enough mentors, and I want to create that movement that causes a lot of people to just step up into that mentorship, that position, and say, look, I'm gonna be the example for you because you're going through something right now that I went through, and I can see you don't know how to get through it. So I'm going to be that example, following my footsteps, and at the same time, nobody's perfect, but at the same time, if I can help kids, be a better version of themselves or deal with certain situations in a way that they probably wouldn't have known how to, that kind of helps them better themselves. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Right. That's UMC All Access. I'm here with the cast of Halfway, now available on UMC. The film has done the circuit as far as film festival. It's landed here on UMC. I want to talk about your thoughts on new platforms and new ways to get your work seen. I mean, you're on demand right now. What do you think about the opportunities out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's from a filmmaker perspective, it's amazing because you can access some of the same. You're not necessarily going to wind up on a great SVOD platform like UMC, but you can access some of the same tertiary spots that are very similar. You can be selling your film on iTunes, and it can be available online. for nothing. I mean, you can work out ways to put stuff out through various different, there are ways to say your film through YouTube and through Vimeo and all kinds of things. So it's amazing. It really allows you to try and reach your audience. Making it commercial at all, so making any money is probably as challenging as it was, but you can reach an audience. You can get your stuff out there. So that's kind of amazing. I mean, that really is. I mean, I remember. 10 years ago, people were saying, "Oh, people are going to be watching stuff on your phone," and I'm sure, I was like, "No one's going to be watching stuff on their phone." Of course, people are watching stuff on their phone now. UMC have an app, and I'm sure some people maybe will watch, if not the film, maybe this interview, maybe trailers, all that kind of stuff. It's really amazing the direct to viewer nature of things now. Obviously, as a filmmaker, you conceive, I do anyway, this type of movie in the biggest sense. It's amazing to see it in theatres. It's amazing for Marcus and Get Out, and Marcus has done loads of movies. Both these guys have that. It's a big movie up on the theatres. But it's also incredible that your film will just live on and can continue to be watched. It's really kind of revolutionary, and it. I mean, I don't go to the theatre as much as I used to, because I can get all this amazing content right at home, right on my TV. So yeah, from a filmmaking point of view, from a writing point of view, from a telling story point of view, it's really amazing, the kind of digital revolution like that.
Congratulations. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Is your phone ringing off the hook and suddenly like...
It's ringing. It's ringing, not necessarily off the hook. But it's ringing though, and I appreciate that.
I can ring.
Super.
Yeah.
Great movie, guys. Great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and we look forward to the next projects. And of course, Halfway available right now on UMC.